Good morning, I'm John Manure from Accu-Slice. This video will introduce and describe the new heavy-duty or commercial version of the Accu-Slice system. The heavy-duty Accu-Slice system extends the capabilities of our standard Accu-Slice system. The heavy-duty Accu-Slice system table is larger and heavier, has larger guide bars and linear bearings, and it also incorporates 4 adjustable legs to minimize or eliminate friction between the index table and the bandsaw table. This enables a more accurate slicing of longer and heavier boards as compared to our standard Accu-Slice system. This system was developed during the design of the new Automated Accu-Slice System and incorporates many of the features of that system. This video will fully describe the heavy-duty Accu-Slice system. Here's an outline of the contents of this video with a video timetable should you wish to advance to a particular section. This includes the main features of the Accu-Slice system, its advantages and disadvantages, the bandsaw system requirements, what's included with the heavy-duty Accu-Slice system, required accessories, optional accessories, installation, and demonstration of its capabilities. This is our standard Accu-Slice system, which we've been using for more than 7 years for various projects, including the segmented ring projects we've done, Celtic bowl projects, some knife handles, and cutting boards up to 36 inches long. You can see it's quite a bit smaller and lighter than this new heavy-duty Accu-Slice system. However, this heavy-duty Accu-Slice system, even though it's larger, heavier, more stable, more accurate, may not offer significant advantages for customers who want to do projects such as we've done in the past using our standard Accu-Slice system. This new heavy-duty Accu-Slice system is designed for the professional woodworker or business who wants to slice heavier and longer boards using the Accu-Slice system. It's really designed for this business or commercial market. One application would be the professional luthier who wants to slice the backs and sides for guitars. Another market would be the commercial furniture business that wants to cut veneers for use in making their furniture. Our standard Accu-Slice index table is 26 inches long and is constructed from 1/4 inch thick aluminum. The index table in this new heavy-duty Accu-Slice system is 36 inches long and is constructed from 3/8 inch thick aluminum. This provides for an index table that is heavier, stronger, and sturdier. The guide bars on our standard Accu-Slice system are 12 millimeters in diameter. These new guide bars on the heavy-duty Accu-Slice system are 16 millimeters in diameter, and it uses larger linear ball bearing guides. This increase in the diameter of these guide bars and linear bearings provide for a significant increase in the rigidity of the index table. These 16 millimeter guide bars provide for an index table that is very stable, very strong, and exhibits much less twisting or angular movement as compared to our standard Accu-Slice system, and provides for more accurate cutting. On each of the 4 corners of this heavy-duty Accu-Slice system are 4 adjustable legs. These legs are used to reduce or eliminate any drag or friction between the bandsaw table and the Accu-Slice index table. This results in an index table that slides easily and freely, even with the addition of heavy boards mounted on the surface of the Accu-Slice index table. The miter bar screws into the miter bar slot form a secure and stable attachment of the index table to the bandsaw table. This assures that the index table will not move during the slicing of boards. 250-pound capacity magnet clamps securely fixes the index table to the bandsaw table where boards are being cut. This reduces vibration and gives smoother cuts. In comparison, our standard Accu-Slice system uses 95-pound capacity magnets. The Accu-Slice rail has been moved back 3/4 of an inch from the front edge of the index table. This design feature further shields the roller bearing inside the carriage from sawdust buildup. 2 brushes can be added to the ends of the carriage to further eliminate sawdust from getting into the roller bearings. The result of these improvements provides for longer bearing life, less frequent cleaning of the roller bearings, and smoother operation of the carriage sliding on the rail. 2 L bracket extensions are mounted to the front edge of the bandsaw table underneath the Accu-Slice index table. These are screwed into the front edge of the bandsaw table with 2 screws. You can't see them mounted because they're actually underneath the table. These enable the magnet clamps to securely clamp the Accu-Slice index table to these brackets when slicing wider boards. 2 optional rail support the magnet clamps are available when using rails 6 foot and longer in order to slice longer boards. These are used to improve the rigidity of the system to give smoother, more accurate cuts. In addition, you would need to purchase these stands. These stands are available from Amazon, and the way these work is they stand underneath the plate, and you would activate the MagJ clamps, and that secures the rail to the plate and security to the floor to eliminate vibration and give you smoother cuts. In our previous two videos on the design and development of the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice System, we demonstrated the slicing of boards 6 foot and longer to produce thin strips of wood with an accuracy of better than plus or minus 2,000 of an inch, the entire length and width of the boards. We also tested up to a 7 foot long board with similar results, but we feel that the 7 foot board was really pushing the limits of the system. Therefore, we're recommending the system can be used to cut boards up to 6 foot long, 12 inches tall, and up to 3 inches thick. This new heavy-duty Accu-Slice system does have a lot of features that make it very useful in slicing longer and heavier boards, and particularly for use by the professional or business customer. However, it does have a lot of disadvantages that make it not in the best interest of the hobbyist or amateur woodworker. First of all, the system is very big and heavy. It probably weighs about 40 pounds, so taking it off and on the bandsaw, it's cumbersome. Each time you take it off and on, you have to unscrew the miter bar from the miter bar slot. You have to remove the legs from the system, and then when you put it back on, you got to screw it back into the miter bar, insert the legs, and readjust the legs to get the proper alignment. And that takes a little bit of time, and it's not something you want to do, a lot of times just to take it off the bandsaw. So in my shop, I'll be putting this on my bandsaw, setting it up, and just leaving it, never taking it off. So in that case, it makes sense. But if I had to take this off and on the bandsaw, every other day, it would be very cumbersome to do that. This heavy-duty Accu-Slice system will only fit bandsaws where the distance between the front edge of the miter bar slot and the bandsaw blade is less than 5 inches. On bandsaws such as a Rikon, in which that distance is 6 inches, the system will not currently work. There may be a version in the future, but that version will require a larger table for the Accu-Slice system in order for that to fit. So that may be available in the future, but right now it's not available. Next, you need to drill and tap several holes in the bandsaw table in order to install the heavy-duty Accu-Slice system. First of all, you need to drill and tap 2 1/4-inch 20 thread per inch holes in the miter bar slot in order to attach the miter bar to the bandsaw. Next, you need to drill and tap 4 holes in the front edge of the bandsaw table in order to attach the L-bracket supports that the mag jigs clamp onto. This heavy-duty Accu-Slice system is about 3 times the cost of our Accu-Slice system, which makes it quite disadvantageous for the amateur hobbyist woodworker. In addition, delivery time is 4 to 6 weeks because systems are machined and constructed as we receive the orders. Even though this heavy-duty Accu-Slice system was developed in conjunction with the Automated Accu-Slice System and shares many of the features of the Automated Accu-Slice System, it's not upgradable to the Automated Accu-Slice System. The Automated Accu-Slice System uses a wider and a longer index table. It does not use these MagJ clamps, it uses electromagnets, and it just has a lot of features that cannot be upgraded with this system. This heavy-duty Accu-Slice system will not fit all makes and models of bandsaws in the market. Your bandsaw must have certain requirements in order for the system to be installed. First of all, the table must be cast iron magnetic in order for my MagJ clamps to clamp it to the bandsaw table. Next, the bandsaw table must be at least 14 inches wide and less than 34 inches wide. And by width, I mean this distance of the table, not this distance. And that's needed in order for these legs to span the table and also for the MagJ clamps to attach to the table. Next, the miter bar slot must be 3/4 inch wide by 3/8 inch deep, which is standard on most American-built bandsaws on the market. We are working on a model to fit the Hammer Model 4400 bandsaw, which is a 15 millimeter wide miter bar slot, and that may be available in the future. Next, the distance between the front edge of the miter bar slot and the bandsaw blade must be less than 5 inches, which covers most American-built bandsaws. One exception is the Rikon, which is a distance of 6 inches. It will not currently fit that model of a bandsaw. That may be available in the future, but that requires a different table, which will be wider. So that may be available on special request. Next, we'll describe what's included in the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice System package, what required accessories are needed, and what optional accessories are available. This is the main Heavy Duty Accu-Slice index table. It consists of 2 plates. These plates are aluminum, 3/8 of an inch thick, and each 36 inches long. This front plate is 8 inches wide, and this back plate is 4 inches wide. And these plates ride on roller bearings that ride on a 16 millimeter diameter guide rod, and they run very smoothly. Includes locking clamps to lock the front rail in place. Also included are 2 150-pound capacity mag jig clamps and the indexing system calibrated in thousandths of an inch. Also included with the main system are 4 adjustable legs. Also included with the system are 2 angle iron plates. These angle iron plates are 3 inches wide by 2 inches tall, and these will mount on the front of the bandsaw table. Also included are screws to mount the angle iron plates, also screws to mount your rail, and screws to mount the miter bar to the bandsaw table. Also included with the system is a tool kit. This tool kit consists of a 5/32 Allen driver, a 1/4 inch center finder, and this is used to locate your holes for tapping and drilling, a .201 inch diameter drill, and a 1/4 inch 20 thread per inch tap. Not included is the wrench for the tap. The required additional accessories for the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice system include a rail and a carriage. For the rail, we recommend either a 5-foot or a 6-foot rail. And then for a carriage, we recommend the Accu-Slide 2 30-inch carriage. And then also you need a series of brackets, the L brackets. And these come in different sizes. We have a 3-inch, a 4-inch, and a 6-inch L bracket, depending on the size of wood you want to cut. And then there's brass keys to mount these brackets to the carriage. In addition to the standard accessories already described, we have some additional accessories that can be used depending on your requirements. First of all, if you're using a rail longer than 5 foot or using extension rails, then you need an extension rail support. And these come in a set of 2, one for each end of the rail. And these consist of a plate which is 6 inches square, and there's screws mounted in this, and these slide onto the end of your rail and include a 150-pound capacity mag jig clamp. These are used in conjunction with extension rails, and we have 2 sizes of extension rails. We have a 36-inch extension rail set and a 22-inch extension rail set. And these come in sets of 2, one for each end of the rail. In addition to the longer rail and extension rails and this mounting plate, then you need a support to dismount to on the end of your rail. And this support is a standard tool support, which is available from Amazon. In addition, we have brushes available to clamp on the end of your carriage, again to minimize sawdust getting into the roller bearings on your system. And again, there's 2 of these, one for each end of the carriage. We have a variety of L brackets for the carriage, depending on the height of board you want to cut. We have a 3-inch bracket, a 4-inch, and a 6-inch tall bracket. All of these parts and systems and components are described on the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice webpage on our website. Now the first step is to install these iron L brackets. And they're basically 3 inches by 2 inches deep, so you want the 3 inches facing up. And the idea is you want to keep this top surface level with the top surface on the bandsaw table. So I took a piece of scrap wood here, in case this is MDF, you can use plywood or anything, and I clamped it to the table and use that as my guide to keep it flush. And I know my mag jigs are 14 inches apart, so I just space it that, I don't want it in here, I want it like out here. That'll cover my mag jigs. Now I use the clamp to clamp it in place. So I'm clamping it here, I can keep the 2 surfaces flush. So next I have my center punch. And the center punch is a 1/4 inch in diameter, and it'll fit right through the center of my holes. And then it'll make a punch in the center, so I know get exactly centered on my part that I want to drill. So what I do is I get the holes, I have to move my clamp a little bit, Now put it in there and make sure everything stays flush and straight. And that marks my spot. And do the same thing on the other side. I want to get at least two places marked where I want to drill. Then I can remove the clamp and the board. And I got my 2 holes marked in the table. So next I want to use my drill, which is 0.210 inches in diameter. And these tables are cast iron, which drills and actually taps quite easily. So just using my center punch mark and try and drill a hole that's straight. And then tap the 2 holes with this 1/4 20 thread per inch tap. And cast iron taps pretty easily. It's not difficult to do at all. And trying to keep it straight going in. And that's all there is to tapping it. So those holes are a little bit tight with the screws. So what I did offline, I took this back to the drill press and I enlarged the hole with the next larger hole, which was a 1/64 of an inch larger. So now we'll put it back on and it should give me a little more clearance. I have a little bit of plate, I can adjust it if I need to adjust it. I don't want to ship them with the larger hole because I want this, center punch to locate it accurately. And then just make sure it's level with your piece of wood. You don't want it above the table. That's good. So now do the other side the same way. And again, check the alignment. It looks good. So that completes the installation of the L bracket supports. I said these are used because the mag jigs will clamp on this when you bring it out to cut wider boards. Okay, after the front angle irons have been installed, the next step would be to install the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice System. And the first thing you want to do is center the Accu-Slice System in the center of your bandsaw blade. You can either use a ruler to measure it, but actually the center hole for the rail is the center of the system. And I lined it up with the front edge of my bandsaw blade. Now this table's already been drilled and tapped, so I'm not going to redo it, but if you are installing this for the first time, what you want to do first of all, make sure it's centered, and then if there's any play in this bar, push your system that way so that it's tight against this front edge of the miter bar slot. And if you have to, put a shim in there, a piece of thin shim material to force it against the miter bar slot. My system fits really tight, so I didn't need to do that, but you do want it flush against this front edge of the miter bar slot to keep it accurate. And then you would take your center punch, once again, mark and tap your holes, remove the Accu-Slice system from the bandsaw, drill and tap those holes, just like we did for the table. After they're drilled and tapped, put the system back. Then there's 2 flathead screws to attach the system to the bandsaw table. And these flathead screws, the tops of the screws should be below the surface of your bandsaw table. If they're not, they're going to scratch on the bottom of the Accu-Slice system, but they should be below the surface. Now you can see as I'm doing this now, I'm getting some friction between this front plate and the bandsaw table. And that's the reason we're going to be attaching the legs, to raise this up a hair so there's no friction between this table and the bandsaw table. There could be a little bit of friction, but you want to minimize that so it slides easily. So the first thing I want to do is make sure my bandsaw table is perpendicular to my bandsaw blade. And if you need to, there's clamps underneath the bandsaw table to adjust it to, get it perfectly perpendicular. But it should be perpendicular to your bandsaw blade. And mine's been all tuned in, so it's right on. Now we're ready to install the legs. Now these legs are adjustable. This top portion has various steps where you can change the height depending on the height of your bandsaw above the floor. And then the bottom has a screw foot that can be loosened to adjust it to move it slightly. And on the top of this leg, there's a set screw that can lock it into the guide bar. So this just mounts on the guide bar. And I'm going to put all 4 of these on. That's the front one, back one is the same thing. And the other side doing the same thing. And once they're in place, I lock them in place so they don't come loose. And then it's a matter of adjusting the feet on the legs so you get a nice smooth movement. You want the system that slides easily, but at the same time now we want to double check to make sure it's perpendicular to our bandsaw blade. Because what can happen sometimes, you can raise this front edge too much and you'll have a gap there. So you adjust these and it's perfectly level or perfectly perpendicular to your bandsaw blade. And I'm off of here, so I can actually raise these front legs to here. And that brought it right in. It wasn't very much adjustment at all. Now what I'm trying to do is not get too much of a gap. You can actually look underneath the bandsaw table, both in the front and the back, and you can see that it's close, but not too far away, because if it's too far away, these mag jigs won't work. And you can test that just by clamping them in place. In fact, you can clamp them in place and check your system to make sure it's still perpendicular. But if you spend quite a bit of time adjusting these to get them perfect. And what I sometimes do is, try and adjust this front edge first using the 2 legs that I have just a little bit of a clearance. And I can use a feeler gauge, maybe like a 10,000th feeler gauge in there to adjust it. And then I can look at the back edge to do the same thing. A little bit harder with these angle iron supports, but you can look to the side and you should be able to see a gap, visually between the table and the bandsaw table and the index table. If you have too much a gap, first of all, the mag jig clamps may not clamp, or when you put them on, it may actually cause the table to pull down. So you want it kind of close. Actually, I like it just a little bit of friction. Not so much that it's hard to slide, but not too much that you have a big gap there that it's just free floating. Because when the system is cutting boards, you want these systems activated that it pulls the 2 tables together. By pulling the 2 tables together, you eliminate vibration. Vibration causes bad cuts and saw marks. So you don't want any movement between the bandsaw table and the Accu-Slice table, and that's the purpose of the mag jig clamps. As I stated, you want to try and get these as perpendicular as possible between the bandsaw table and your blade and the Accu-Slice system and your blade. Now it's not that critical if it's off, a few degrees. But what that means is when you do your cuts on your boards, if your boards are straight, you're liable to lose a little more wood. Because the first cut always gives you a flat surface, and every cut after that will be perfectly parallel to that. But to minimize wood waste, I try and get my systems to be perfectly perpendicular to my bandsaw blade. Just reduces the amount of wasted wood. And that completes the installation of the index table. It does take quite a while to adjust these legs. You'll spend quite a bit of time playing with it, getting to the right adjustment and right feed. You don't get a lot of scraping, it moves freely, but you don't get too big of a gap in there. So the next process is to install the rail. And the rail gets attached with 3 screws to line up in the plate, and there's 2 alignment pins to center it. And I would just go onto the system like that. This rail is 6 foot long, so I want to install these supports on the end of the rail. Let me describe briefly how those are installed. So I just turn this rail upside down, and this support is a flat plate, and it has 3 countersunk screws, And these nuts, these are 1/4 20 thread per inch nuts. These just slide in these two channels on the bottom of the rail. So sometimes it's a little bit difficult getting those to align. And in fact, the easiest way to do it many times is just to remove the nuts and put the nuts in first, because they are a pretty tight fit going in there. So you can do that, remove the nuts, slide them into the channel. You'll leave the last two in, but sometimes they are difficult getting to get them all aligned at the same time to go in. I got two in, and then I can just line my nuts in the channels and screw the plate on. And this is my 6-foot rail, so I'm going to put these plates right at the very end. If I use extension rails, I might put them in the middle of the extension rails. But anytime your rail is over 5 foot long, we recommend using these supports. It just eliminates vibration, and any vibration causes bad cuts. So I can put this back on, center it over my system, and then screw my rail in place. And this rail screws in place with 3 screws. Okay, after the support's been installed, then we can bring in our support, our stand support. These are actually supports made for grinders and buffers. They're available on Amazon. You can adjust the height. It slides right underneath the support to get it to the right height. This top plate is metal, so it's magnetic. It's not aluminum, it is magnetic metal. So when I put the mag jig clamps in place, it locks it in place. And that reduces vibration, gives you a nice stable cut on your system. And do that on both ends. And then the final step is to install the carriage. Now I prefer to use in this Accu-Slide 2 30-inch long carriage. Works best with this system, especially for cutting longer boards. This is 30 inches long, and you can cut a board easily with that with 50 inches long. If you want to cut longer than 50 inches, you might want to add 2 rails or 2 carriages together. And it's available with different size L brackets, depending on the height of the board you want to cut. This is the 4-inch high bracket. We have a 3-inch for shorter boards and a 6-inch for taller boards. If you're doing something like cutting guitar backs, where your board is 6-8 inches wide, then I would use the 6-inch brackets. And also in the system, I've installed the brushes on the end of the carriage. That just keeps these roller bearings clean. And I can show you that briefly on the bottom of this carriage. You can see we have our roller bearings here. And this has been on there for quite a while. The last few studies I've done, I haven't cleaned these at all. They stayed pretty clean. But these roller bearings ride, above the table and in the groove between the sacrificial fence and this rail, and then the brush keeps the channel clean. But again, everything should ride smooth now. The carriage should ride smooth on the rail, and the system should ride smooth back and forth. And then to lock it, you just lock these 2 clamps, and that keeps it from moving. And then the mag jigs clamp everything in place when you're cutting the board. And everything now should be nice and stable with the mag jigs holding it here, mag jigs on at the end of your rail supporting that, and these locks in place. So everything should be tight. You should get nice cuts when you're using the system. This concludes this video on the description, the installation, and the features of the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice System. I was planning on putting the application showing actually cutting wood at the end of this video, but this video is getting pretty long as it is. So I'll do separate videos on cutting different types of boards, and they'll be right in the on the website along with the description of this system. I'll be doing a video on cutting some guitar backs and pieces, and also videos on cutting some longer boards. So those will be shown again on separate videos on our website. Additional details on this Heavy Duty Accu-Slice System, its availability, pricing, and more information is on our website. There's a separate page on the Heavy Duty Accu-Slice System. If you have any additional questions or concerns or comments, as always, please feel free to give us a call or drop us an email. We're always happy to hear from you. And once again, thank you for watching this video.